मधुर मधुर नाम सीताराम सीताराम। मधुर मधुर नाम सीताराम सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। मधुर मधुर नाम सीताराम सीताराम। मधुर मधुर नाम सीताराम सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। मधुर मधुर नाम सीताराम सीताराम। मधुर मधुर नाम सीताराम सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। मधुर मधुर नाम सीताराम सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। सीताराम 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 सीताराम। श्री राम जय जय राम। राम जय जय राम। श्री 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 राम जय जय राम। राम जय जय राम। श्री 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 राम जय जय राम। राम जय जय राम। श्री 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 रामचंद्र भगवान की जय। सीताराम लक्ष्मण हनुमान की जय। हरे कृष्णा। So, the Ramayana has 24,000 verses, and Shyam Girdhari Prabhu has asked me only to complete it in 3 Saturdays. So how will I complete all the 24,000 verses in 3 Saturdays? I don't know. So I've come with a solution. So there is this beautiful this called Naam Ramayan, which has around 108 verses. So it's Ramayan in brief, and it's written by Lakshmanacharya, who comes in the Shri Sampradaya. So he's got the whole 24,000 verse into the 108 verses. So this coming 3 Saturdays, we'll try to complete this 108 verses. So these 108 verses are again put into 6 khandas. So we will do 2 today. That is, we will do the Balakanda and the Ayodhya Kanda today. And the coming Saturday, we will do the Aranya Kanda and Kishkinda Kanda. And on the concluding Saturday, we will do the Sundara Kanda and Yuddha Kanda. So Ramayana is everybody's favorite because not so many controversies. When it comes with Krishna, there are so many doubts and controversies, and because our naughty Krishna does so many things, but it comes with Ram, his Maryada Purushottam, so it becomes very simple. The ideal king and the ideal husband, the ideal son, the ideal brother, ideal leader. Ideal is just ideal. So it's so easy for the general public also, and that's why probably Ramayana is more popular all over the world, whether it's even in different countries also. Very easily people accept Lord Lord Ram, and often the politicians are also quoting Lord Ram. We should be Ramarajya kind of situation and in the world. So, in fact, the Niti Shastra also says that those who are intelligent, they engage themselves in 3 kinds of conversations. So in the morning, they engage themselves with the conversation about gambling. And in the afternoon, they engage themselves with a conversation about a woman. And in the evening, they engage in a conversation about a thief. And Srila Prabhupada has, exactly structured our sadhana in this way, that we are following what the Niti Shastras say. In every ISKCON temple, in the morning, we discuss the the gambling pastime. That is Mahabharata. That means Mahabharata includes Bhagavad Gita, and we discuss Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the afternoon, the women pastime, which is about Sita Mata, the Ramayana. And in the evening, it's about the thief, and that is Lord Shri Krishna. So in every ISKCON temple, till date, they are following this tradition of reading Krishna book just before they go to sleep. You see the brahmacharis with the hot glass of milk and muri with their Krishna books, and and that's what they do when they end the day. So we'll discuss from the Nam Ramayan, and as the poster advertises, we'll talk about emotions and instructions, because Ramayana is so very special. It's about emotions and it's about instructions. So much emotion, so much, because people talk about love, but what is actually love? And the highest form of love is what has been shown in the Ramayana. We see love in separation. When we love somebody, to be around that person and to serve that person is easy, but to serve that person in separation is the highest. And that we see in Ramayana, where Mother Sita is in separation of Ram, and Urmila is in separation of Lakshman, and Kaushalya is in separation of Ram, and Ram is in separation of his wife, and Dasrath is in separation of his son, and the citizens are in separation of their beloved Ram. Everybody, Bharat is in separation of his brother. But everybody carries on with their life, and they do their best to do their duties, and keeping Lord Ram in center, which is so inspiring for people like us also, that your life can keep going on, and at the same time simultaneously you can keep Krishna in center. It's not that one has to run away from their duties. One can keep doing their duties, at the same time keep Krishna in the center of their lives, just like the citizens of Ayodhya, or for that matter everybody, every character in Ramayana they did their duties properly. At the same time they were conscious of Lord Ram. So there are so many emotions, and there's so many beautiful instructions. I mean, there are even small instructions in Ramayana, like one is supposed to wash their hands and legs before eating, after eating, when somebody is eating, what are the etiquettes to be followed. Even like small little things, like what do you when you take bath, what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to talk, what you're not supposed to talk, when you laugh, how much you're supposed to open your mouth. So like that, there are basic instructions to the complicated ones of responses and reactions, and how do you respond to reversals. And so it's like an amazing, so many dimensions of life are presented in Ramayana. So it's not only about the story, but it's about the instructions lying inside between those lines of Ramayana. Because story we all know, and now we all so many cartoons and all, but the instructions are so very beautiful, which guides us in every phase of our life. So what we will do today is I will recite those verses of Nam Ramayana, and then we will may not go exactly in the chronological or the order, the date wise or the pastime wise, but whatever those verses explain, we will just go to those pastimes, but more or less they are in that form only. So we will begin this with the blessings of Valmiki Muni and the Guru Parampara and Srila Prabhupada. So we'll start with the Balakanda. Shuddha Brahma Paratpara पर रामा कालात्मक परमेश्वर रामा शेषतल्प सुख निद्रित रामा ब्रह्माद्यमर प्रार्थित रामा राम राम जय राजा राम 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 जय सीताराम राम राम जय राजा राम 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 जय सीताराम. So here Lakshmanacharya, he begins with philosophy, which we don't like so much. We like more of stories and pastimes, but he begins with philosophy. He says, about whom are you hearing? Prepare your mind. You're not hearing about some historical king. What I'm going to just now narrate to you is a pastime of Shuddha Brahma Parat Pararama. Oh, you're going to hear about Shuddha Brahma. And this is very, very beautiful point, because there are so many philosophies, especially the monistic philosophy. The monistic understanding is that Shuddha Brahma is Brahma Jyoti, and from that Shuddha Brahma comes out the avatars. So here they are giving the bhakti understanding of it, that no, it's not that from Shuddha Brahma comes out Lord Ram. Lord Rama himself is Shuddha Brahma. That means they give you the bhakti understanding that Lord is beyond the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahma Jyoti comes out from the Lord, not that Lord comes out from Brahma Jyoti. So usually they picture it this way, that the highest is Brahma Jyoti. That's why when you engage in conversation with people who follow that philosophy, they ask you, oh, you still doing Murti Puja? Oh, you are still on that level? We have crossed it long back. We just worship, the Brahma Jyoti, from where avatars come. In fact, there is a certain philosophy where they say that Brahma Jyoti is the purest, and when it gets mixed with the Sattva Guna, the avatars come, and when it mixes with the Rajas, the Jivas are born, and when it mixes with the Tamas, then the Prakriti comes out. And so that means the Shuddha Brahma becomes a little Ashuddha because it mixes with the material modes of nature. But here, it's very clear, he starts Shuddha Brahma Parat Pararama. So actually the Brahma Jyoti comes from Lord Rama. That means he's transcendental to transcendence. So that's what he's very clearly that Lord does not take a material form. They refute this philosophy in the very first line. It says Shuddha Brahma. The Lord is transcendental to transcendence. He is a supreme transcendental. And it says Parat Pararama. Parat Pararama. He's a pure transcendence. And then it says, actually in the Bhagavad Gita, the chapter 14, verse number 27, Lord says that I am the supporter of Brahma Jyoti. So he clarifies there, and here it's more clarified by Lakshmanacharya. And then he says, Kalatmaka Parmeshwara Rama. Parmeshwara, Ishvara is controller. Parama Ishvara means he's a supreme controller. So again in the second line he's clarifying that he's Shuddha Brahma, he's Parmeshwara, he's a supreme controller, and Kalatmaka. Kala is time, and Kalatmaka means he's trying to say that it's not that Lord is born according to some time. Time is created by the Lord. Lord is not under the control of time. That time is created by Lord. He's the source of everything. So Shuddha Brahma Parat Pararama, Kalatmaka Parmeshwara Rama. And then in the third line he says Shesha Talpa Sukha Nidrita Rama. So what is the proof that he's a supreme Lord and he's a supreme personality of God and he's the most powerful and he's a supreme controller? The proof is he's sleeping happily. Sukha Nidrita Rama. Shesha Talpa Sukha Nidrita Rama. On the Ananta Shesh, he's happily having rest. Oh, that means he's the boss. Because if he was not the boss, then he would be working and he would be all busy. Usually when we say somebody is a controller, means controller, the moment you visualize the word controller, oh, he's somewhere with his walkie-talkie and trying to fix things. But Lord here is a supreme controller, but he's not that, sitting with all his computers and laptops and he's trying to get signals from different planets and he's on his walkie-talkie. Okay, is everything all right in Brahma Loka? Is everything all right in this Loka? He's not doing anything. He's simply sleeping. Sukha Nidrita Rama. So it's just clarifying that, Lord he is the supreme Lord. He's the boss, and he's happily, taking rest. And even the Lord's nidra is yoga nidra, and in the nidra also Lord is creating, and in very happily relaxing. So he's a Shuddha Brahma, and he is relaxing, and he is the controller of the time. He's Parama Ishvara, and to such Lord, Brahma, Adya, Amara, Prarthita Rama, Prathana. Oh, they're all praying. Who is praying? Brahma, whom we know as the creator or the supreme creator. He and Amara. Amara means those who are immortal beings. That means the demigods. So Brahma and the other demigods, they all coming and praying to Lord Rama. So here in the beginning he's clarifying that now that the verses I'm going to recite and the pastimes of Lord Ram that I'm going to narrate, he's not just a historical figure or a powerful king, but he is Shuddha Brahma. So this is how he begins, and how Brahma and the other devatas, they petition to the Lord that kindly incarnate, so that there is a disturbance in the cosmic balance, and you please kindly come and relieve us, help us. So that is what the whole verse is about. One thing I thought interesting in this verse is that the Brahma and the demigods, they're so powerful, and they're people who are praying to them, but they know what to do when they don't know what to do. And I thought that was very special, because now they're in a situation where Ravan is giving them so much trouble. So they're not able to understand what to do with Ravan. He's such a powerful guy. In fact, when I was reading this, I came across many beautiful versions, and where they were explaining in detail how Ravan was treating those demigods. Indra was cleaning the horses, and the other devatas were in his kitchen cutting cucumbers, and there's somebody cleaning his Antarbhavan, his bedroom, and then the Navagrahas, they are like the 9 steps on which he climbs his throne, and Shani is like that pillow, the soft pillow on which he keeps his leg when he sits on his throne. I mean, that was a situation. They were completely terrorized by Ravan. This was the situation there. So that means the devatas were in complete fix. They don't know what to do, but they know what to do when they don't know what to do. That means they know whom to approach. And I thought that was so beautiful, because sometimes in our lives also, there are so many such situations we land in, and at that time we are completely confused what to do. And I've seen people who think, let me get things sorted out and then I'll go back to doing bhakti. I mean, at least I see when I interact with people here, if I ask them sometimes, so why are you missing the programs, or why are you not coming for the Sunday feast programs, or why are you missing your classes? It's just that there's so many problems in my life, and let me just get over with this problem and I'll come back to temple, and I'll start being active again. And I keep asking them that this is something like you are telling that, I have a fever, so I can't see the doctor now. Let my fever get, well, and then I'll come and meet the doctor. That's all right. So that would be so foolish. You're supposed to meet the doctor when you're having fever. What's the point about meeting the doctor after you are done with your fever? So this is what everybody is doing in the material world. You ask them that, do bhakti. I'll do it. As of now, there's so many problems in my life. Or can you come for Vrindavan Yatra? No, I want to do it, but now these are the problems. But actually, when you are in problem, you're supposed to do all the more. Like the Brahma and the Devatas, they know whom to go to when they are in problem. And I thought that was a very beautiful point. I will go to the next verse. Chanda Kirana Kula Mandana Rama Shrimad Dasaratha Nandana Rama Kaushalya Sukha Vardhana Rama Vishwamitra Priyadhana Rama 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 Jaya Raja Ram Rama Rama Jaya Sita Ram Rama Rama Jaya Raja Ram Rama Rama Jaya Sita Ram. Says Chanda Kirana Kula Mandana Rama. So Lord Ram comes in the dynasty of the Surya Dev. So Chanda Kiran means rays of the sun. They are so heavy, Chanda Kirana. So that dynasty the Lord comes. He's the he's the illuminator of the illuminators, but when he comes here, he has to come via somebody, either Chandra or Surya. So when he comes in the form of Lord Krishna, he comes in the lunar dynasty, and when he comes as Lord Rama, then he comes in the solar dynasty. So Chanda Kirana Kula Mandana Rama is he comes in the dynasty of the sun. So this is something like the author of a book may write a book. At the same time, he may also have some small role in the book. So he is the creator of the book, but he's also having some role inside. So like we see sometimes in the movies, if the director is making the whole movie, he may be doing a cameo role for 5 minutes or something, but he's not inside the movie because he's the one who's directing the whole thing. But for fun's sake, he may come in the movie and do some 5 minutes role. So similarly, the Lord is a creator, and all the dynasties are coming from him. He's the source and origin of everything, but via them he appears and glorifies their dynasty. The Lord comes in the dynasty of sun. And then comes the second line, Srimad Dasharatha Nandana Rama. And I thought this was also so beautiful. Here Dashrath is called Srimad, like we say Srimad Bhagavatam. The Ramanuja Sampradaya, they glorify Dashrath, and they glorify Jatayu, and they glorify Vibhishan so much. Whenever they talk about them, they just put the word Shri. And especially he is the father of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how can you address him as only Dashrath? So they say Shri Mada Dashrata Nandana Rama. He comes as a son of Dashrata. Actually, Lord likes it a lot when somebody calls him Dashrath Nandan, Nandan. Radha Krishna, he likes to be, called in connection with his devotees, connection with his father, connection with his dear devotees, and that name he enjoys a lot. Instead of, that's why we hardly see anybody says Krishna. Either they say Radha Krishna, or they say Nandan Krishna, or they say, or some way or the other, they connect the Lord with his devotees, and that makes him very happy. So it's like that because he loves his devotees. He wants to remember his devotees. I don't know now, but the culture back there, 20 years ago, when you get married, you get the surname of your husband. And that's such a special moment because you may be some Rao or some Verma or some Naidu, and then after you get married, you get your husband's surname, and that's such a special moment because now it's like officially, yes, I'm connected to him, and that's the special thing that Lord feels, when he's okay, I'm Nandan, okay, I'm Dasharath Nandan, or I'm Yashoda Nandan, and that makes him very happy when he's called in connection with his devotees. So Srimad Dasharatha Nandana Rama. This is very beautiful pastime how Dashrath Maharaj, got Lord Ram in his life after many, many years. In fact, with thousands of years. In those days, Treta Yuga, they had a long life. So after many, many years, he didn't have any progeny. He did have one daughter who was called Shanta, and the daughter was given an adoption to his friend Romapada. And Dashrath was longing to have a son, and especially if somebody gets a son in the old age, then they become very happy. It's not only about son. Any child born is beautiful. Normal child in the material world, parents get so attached, and if Supreme Personality of Godhead comes like a baby in the house, what must be their situation? So Dashrath Maharaj had been longing for a child for a long time. He had many queens, but the primary three queens were Kaushalya and Kaikeyi and Sumitra, and there was no child. And those days it was very important for them that they must have child as a king, because it was their moral and social responsibility to give a son, especially because they had to carry forward the kingdom. So the citizens would look forward, if the king doesn't give them with a prince, and they will feel really bad about it. So he was in anxiety what to do, and he had been praying. And then somebody suggested that there is this very popular or this very pure Brahmana called Rishi Shringa, and if he presides over the yajna, then you can definitely have a son. But the problem was Rishi Shringa had never seen a woman in his life, and he was very much protected by his father deep inside the forest, and there was no way to reach him. So there's this whole big long pastime of how they actually cheated him. They sent some women, in absence of his father, on a regular basis, who befriended Rishi Shringa, who was so innocent that he hadn't even seen the species of women, and he never knew. He said, how come they look so different, and how come their bodies are so soft? And when he actually touched them, he said, how come they are like this? And then finally one day, these ladies, when his father is not around, they manage to bring him, and then finally Rishi Shringa gets married to them, and then he comes to this place of Dashrath Maharaj's Ayodhya, and then along with Vashishta, he co-presides over this Putra Kameshti Yagya, and then finally the Lord of Sacrifice, the Yagya Murti, becomes very happy, and then they get a sweet rice which is divided into two portions for Kaikeyi and Kaushalya, and then they both give a little portion of their paisam or the sweet rice to Sumitra. So that way Lord Rama appears to Mother Kaushalya, and Bharat appears to Kaikeyi, and since she had got two portions, Sumitra gives birth to Shatrughna and Lakshman. So this is what happens, and everybody becomes very happy, especially because they are son. Many places Prabhupada quotes this verse. He says that this putra, this son, is very important because there is a hell which is called puta, and tra is pum nama naraka. He says pum nama naraka. There is a hell which is called pum, and traya, who can deliver one from that hell, is putra, the son. How? Because he offers oblations for the father, and that way he can be he can be delivered from that. If by any unfortunate situation he's put into that hell, then putra can help him to come out from that hell. Of course, sometimes, like as devotees, one may have question, but what if somebody doesn't have son, then what? Because the Vedic scriptures say that it's the son who can deliver, I'm just reminded of this very beautiful pastime that happened in the city of Kumbakonam. I don't know how many of you have been there down south, but it's a beautiful, beautiful place. It's a temple town with so many temples. And all these temples are built by so many prominent acharyas and alvars, and every temple has such a beautiful sthala Purana. So there is this one temple there in Kumbakonam which has a huge Rajagopuram. The Gopuram, when you enter the temple, is like huge. You just have to strain your neck if you want to see the end of it. Now there was this one devotee who worked very hard to build that Rajagopuram. So he collected funds and he supervised the construction, and it took him years and years and years to actually complete the whole Rajagopuram, the grandest one in Kumbakonam. And finally, by the time he completed it, he never realized he became 94 years old. So finally, when the Rajagopuram is inaugurated and everybody is congratulating him, somebody asked him, by the way, you never got married, so you don't have son. So now when you die, who's going to offer oblations, and who's going to do the Shraddha ceremony? So this man says, yeah, that's a valid question. I never thought about it. So he directly barges into the sanctum sanctorium, opens the door and goes directly and talks to the deity. He says, my Lord, I made this Rajagopuram for you and I forgot to get married. No, so who's going to do my, the Kriya Karma, the last rites? And the Lord in the deity form speaks and says, I'll do it. You made this Rajagopuram for me. I'm your son, and I'll keep doing it. Don't worry, I'll take care. And then Lord did it. When he actually left body, the Lord was taken in the palanquin, and he did the last rite. And not only that, he's still doing it. It's been 700 years. And every year on that devotee's, death anniversary, the Lord is taken out in palanquin, and he does all the Kriya Karma as a son of that devotee. So it's okay whether we have son or daughter. We have to make Krishna our son. So Now Dashrath, he desperately wanted to have a son because that was his moral responsibility as a king. And after this Putra Kamishti Yagya, they did get sons, and they're very happy. Not only an ordinary son, they got the Supreme Personality of Godhead as their son. Now they were very happy. The palace, which was once so calm and quiet, now became all noise, and so with all this prince moving around here and there. That's why you see in the third line he says, Kaushalya Sukha Vardhana Rama. Vardhan is increasing. So Kaushalya Sukha. Mother Kaushalya is so happy. Every single day she's watching the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a little boy with all beauty, and so many sweet, sweet pastimes take place. Lord Ram was not so naughty like Krishna, but of course he also did sometimes like something like he asked for the moon. I want the moon, and mother is like, how can I get you the moon? And he said, but unless you get me the moon, I'm not eating. And then they had to arrange those water pots, huge big wide water pots and water tumblers, and then they showed the reflection of the moon to Lord Ram in the pitcher, in the water pitcher. And then he says, yeah, now I'm happy. And then he said, okay, now you open your mouth. And that's how Lord Ram ate. And of course there are many beautiful bhajans by acharyas where they explain that Lord Ram's walking and was so beautiful. Every time that he used to simply take small little steps and walk, everybody used to get mesmerized, and with their eyes and mouth wide open, they simply look at his beautiful form. So Kaushalya Shukhavardhana Rama, every day the pleasure of the parents was increasing, and all the Ayodhya Vasis were becoming very happy. Then comes the next last verse, says Vishwamitra Priyadhana Rama. And this is one very beautiful line, Vishwamitra Priyadhana Rama. So here they're talking about Dashratha, and they're talking about Kaushalya, and they suddenly switch to Vishwamitra Priyadhana Rama. So this is very beautiful, because how did Lord Rama come in Dasharath's life? How did Lord Rama come in Kaushalya's life? Unless and until somebody gives up materialistic things and make place for Krishna, Krishna will not come in our heart, in our life. And the proof of that is Vishwamitra. So we know the past of Vishwamitra, the Purvashram of Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra's name was Kaushik. He was a Kshatriya king, and once he had fought a very glorious war, and with his 40,000 soldiers, after winning the war, he was just returning back to his kingdom. And on the way, he just sees an hermitage, and he thinks, let me take a little rest before I reach my palace. And then in this hermitage is Vashishta Muni. So with his 40,000 soldiers, he's just come there, okay, let me just take a little rest, maybe drink some water and go away. But Vashishta says, oh, wait, we'll arrange a feast for you. So there is a feast for Vishwamitra, who was Kaushik Raja at that time, and he's amazed that I just thought, hermitage, poor person, but he has so much opulence, and there are sweets, and there are savories, and there are so many items, and there's sweet water, and there are all kinds of arrangements made for the soldiers and the elephants and the horses. And then he understands, so he has a cow, Kamadhenu, and she's the one who's been providing all this. Now he gets a little envious, and he says, well, you just a sadhu, what will you do with such powerful cow? I am a king and I need that cow, so give it to me. And Vashishta is like, I can't, she's my cow and I'm not willing to part with her. And then he says, okay, then fight with me. So here he's with his 40,000 soldiers and he's all alone. But he's with Kamadhenu cow. So Kamadhenu cow not only gives food, or she also can produce soldiers. So the soldiers come out from her body, and then there is a big war. And actually like a war, and then finally he's defeated. Kaushik Raja is defeated. And then he suddenly starts thinking, wow, I'm a Kshatriya with all this opulence and all the training with martial art, this, that, and I get just defeated by a puny, a small Brahmana. That means, there is so much power in prayers and austerities, and then better I leave all this and I start doing, what he is doing. This makes more sense. So he just leaves his kingdom and he just leaves everything, and he starts doing tapasya on one leg, and with his hand on top of his head, and for many, many years. And then we know when he's almost like coming very close to doing it well, then Indra gets a little insecure, and then he sends Menaka, and then Vishwamitra Muni gets distracted. And then after a few years that he spends with Menaka, around 50 years, and then Menaka says, well, I'm done with you and I'm going back to where I came from. And then he understands, oh, so this was just to allure me. So he again starts doing tapasya, and this time Ramba comes, and then this time he's like, once bitten, twice shy. He said, okay, last time I just got carried away by lust, and I'm not going to open my eyes also to see who is it. But then she keeps making so much noise with her anklets and her bangles and her. So then finally he does open his eyes, but he opens it with such anger, it's like ready to burn her, So then, because he has expressed so much anger, whatever austerities that he had done, he lost it. He lost it because of showing anger. So he thought, oh, this is a big mess I've put myself into. Last time the lust made problem, this time the anger made problem, the kama and the krodha. Oh, that means what I need to really do is not these austerities. Work on my kama and krodha. They are my big hurdles. So then he actually transforms into a devotee over a period of time. So then that's how he becomes a devotee of the Lord, more than austerities. He takes to Bhakti Marga. So here it says, Vishwamitra Priyadhana Rama. So now Vishwamitra, he gave up all his opulences and he gave up all his mystic powers and all that he was craving for what? For Priyadhana Rama, because two arrows can't stay in one quiver. You can't have, all the material things also, and then you cannot have Rama, and both can't stay together. Like Srila Prabhupada used to always say that Krishna consciousness and materialistic enjoyment go ill together. So you have to give it up. So here he finally gives it up, and then he gets his Priyadhana Rama. So wonderful. What struck me with this verse was that everybody in this material world will have to go through some suffering. Even the Supreme Personality of Godhead's father is not, or mother is not, cannot escape from that. Even Devaki and Vasudev had to suffer in the prison house, and even Dasharath and his queens had to suffer, and even Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj had to suffer separation from Krishna. And so anybody who is in this material world, like it says that if somebody enters into a coal mine with white clothes and white socks and white pant and white shirt, the probability is definitely there will be some kind of a coal dust on his white clothes. So we are all in the material world, and there will be some or the other kind of suffering, whether it's Adi Devik, Adhyatmik or Adi Bhautik, and one should not get too much stuck with it, and one should understand that I will have to continue my Krishna consciousness in whatever situation I have been placed in. It's not that one day some beautiful situation will be created for me where I can practice my bhajan without any problem. You'll have to keep doing it simultaneously with all these three different kinds of problems that we face in day-to-day life. So this is what happens, and everybody has to go on with their life. I was just thinking that, Dashrath had all the money and all the power and all the position, and he even had one daughter, but there was a fill in the blank, but he didn't have son. All of us in this material world, there is a fill in the blank. Somebody may be having all the money and they may be also having a son, but they may not be having good health. But somebody may be having a good health, they may be having money, and they may be having a son, but they may not be having good relationships. And somebody may be having all these things, but they may not have something else. But every time there will be some fill in the blank. There will be some blank in everybody's life, and we can't say, anybody having complete life. But the whole point is not about having a perfect life, but to add Krishna in our life, who is perfect. So even though we have our imperfections, but if we are worshipping the perfect Lord Krishna, then we can be happy. Otherwise, there is no chance, because there'll be always some fill in the blank in everybody's life, right from Indra to Indragopa. Everybody's having some fill in the blank. So now we'll go to the next verse. घोर ताटका घाटक रामा मारे चादिनी पातक रामा कौशिक मख समरक्षक रामा श्रीमदहल्याधारक रामा राम राम जय राजा राम 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 जय सीताराम राम राम जय राजा राम 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 जय Sitaram. So now the Lord has arrived, the Lord is growing up slowly in the palace, all are happy. And then comes Vishwamitra in their life, and Lord is just about maybe a teenager or maybe a little less than that. Well, some version I heard he was 16 years old, some people said he was simply 11 years old. So whatever it is, he's a little boy, and now Vishwamitra comes and then he asks Dashrath, I want to take your little boy with me. And Dashrath is like, why is that? And he said, no, because we are performing the sacrifices, all the sages together, and these demons are coming and disturbing us, so we want Lord Ram to protect our great sacrifice. And Dashrath is becoming very overprotective, and he says, but what can my little boy do? He's never gone in a war, or he doesn't know what to do. I will come and I will guard your sacrifice, and I will come with all my soldiers. And Vishwamitra gets really angry, and he's like, no, I said I want your son, so I'll take your son. And Dashrath is completely confused, because those days, if a Brahmana, or for that matter any guest, Atithi, comes to your house and he asks for something, you don't say no, no matter what it is. It's like considered to be a very big aparadha. They have to satisfy the guest. We know, in the pastime of Kunti Devi also, how Kunti Devi, she was just an 8-year-old girl, and when Durvasa Muni comes there to the kingdom of Kunti Bhoj, everybody runs hither thither. They don't want to serve Durvasa because they're worried, Durvasa, you make a little mistake and he just curses you. But Kunti Devi says, no, I will serve him. And then she goes on and serves for 1 whole year Durvasa Muni, and in return she gets a beautiful blessing from Durvasa, wherein on her, she was given a mantra by which she can call any demigod, whenever she wants, she desires, they have to come and attend to her call. So like that, when we serve Vaishnavas, that's our culture. When we serve the Vaishnavas, some or the other way we will be blessed. We have to do it selflessly and heartfully. But of course, usually we are always calculating maths behind it. What will I get and what is there in for me? But when we read this Ramayana and different pastimes from Mahabharata, we see that how they selflessly served and they got much more in return. They did it without any expectation, and they get so much in return. Actually, the Lord and the Vaishnavas, they are so kind. Whatever little bit we do, they remember, and they actually give us much more than we deserve. I'm just reminded of this one story of this young man who was serving his master very nicely for many, many years. And finally, one fine day, he plans to retire. So he tells his master that I'm planning to retire. But in the heart of heart, he's very sad that I've been working for my master for so long time, but now that it's time for me to retire, how will I manage my life? I have very little savings. And then his master takes him to a room, and then to his surprise, there is this big white cloth, and then the master removes it, and therein he sees there are small pots, and they're all filled up with some coins, and the master says, this is all for you. And this man gets surprised, but what is all this? He said, I've been saving. He said, every time that I give you your monthly wages, I've been saving for you, that when you finally retire, I'll give you all these things. And then he becomes very happy that, you have thought so wisely for me. So similarly, even Lord Shri Krishna, every time that we're doing service, he's just saving for us. We may not sometimes immediately get return of our service, which is our actually expectation. Every time that we do something, we really expect, even if we don't express it in heart of our hearts, I gave so much donation, I did so much service, I chanted so many rounds, I've served so many Vaishnavas. So how come the Lord has not responded? Or did he acknowledge? Does he know? I did so much. But yeah, he knows actually. It's not that he'll give you back. He'll give you when you actually need it. So when it's time to go, Lord will will tell you, I know that on Janmashtami you were at the chapel, at the footwear stand, and I know what you did, and I know how much you put in hundi, and I know what you have done. And he'll remind of every single service that we did to him and his devotees, and he will give back in return. One just needs to have a lot of patience. So here Vashishta intervenes, and he gives a pep talk to Dashrath. Look, if a saintly person is telling you that he wants to take your son, there is some reason behind it. He will teach Lord Ram, give him some powerful weapons, give him good exposure. Let him go, don't worry, he'll be safe. And then finally Dashrath agrees, okay, fine, you can take my son. So then now comes our verse, Ghora Tataka Ghataka Rama. So when Lord Ram goes, the first encounter that he has is that he has to kill Tataka, and Tataka is a demoness. She's a demoness. The explanation of Tataka is so graphic. She had arms which were like 12 kilometers long, and she had hair which was copper colored, and her eyes were red in color, and she had those long teeth, and there was blood dripping all the time, and there was no neck. She never had any neck. The head was attached directly to the body, and she was so fearful. And Lord Ram is Sukomal, beautiful looking little boy, 11-year-old, with his bow and arrows, and he's been shooting arrows, but he's not killing Tataka. And Vishwamitra is wondering, I thought he was the supreme personality of Godhead, what's up? So then he asked Ram, why aren't you killing her? Come on, just use the right weapon and kill her. And then Lord Ram says, but actually she's a lady, and the scripture says we're not supposed to kill a lady. Oh, then Vishwamitra is like, he makes Lord Ram reconceptualize his idealistic understanding with the, reality, the assessment of reality of this world, says, that's all right, but don't look at her as a woman, look at her as a demon first and then woman. And she's been harassing the sages, and she's been eating them like food, like you eat fruits, she's been eating like that, so you have to, and evil has no gender, so come on, go ahead and just shoot the arrow. And when he gets that instructions from his guru Vishwamitra, and then Lord Rama, he just shoots the arrow and kills Tataka. But Tataka was not alone there. There were some more, accompanying her. There was Subahu and there was Marichi. But Lord was very smart. When it came to Marichi, he never killed Marichi. He just put a blunt arrow. Now, usually when they put an arrow, it just goes in the body and passes. It comes out from the other side. But he just put blunt arrow towards Marich because he didn't want to kill Marich. He thought that there are two ways. One is you actually kill the demon and you are done with it, and the other way is if you just you make them so fearful that they will deter the other demons to attack the sages anymore, because they will go and say, oh, this young boy has come and there's he's protecting the sages, better not to go and vandalize those sages anymore. So he just wanted that to be done. So he just hurls arrow on Marich in such a way, but it's done with such force that Marich is thrown far, many kilometers away. And Marich is horrified. So much strength, a little boy. And then Marich decides that, of course, one other time also he comes to attack Lord Ram, but finally he decides that, I'm not fighting anymore with Ram, and he settles. He just makes a Parnashala, a small hut for himself. And he's just meditating on Lord Ram, and he gives up all his bad habits, and he becomes like a devotee. Now, how do we know that? Is that the fact that he got an opportunity to be killed by Lord Ram himself is because of his austerities and penances that he was performing. Now, somebody may say that, but is that fair? Marichi gave up his bad habits and he was meditating on Lord Ram, and then how come Ravan goes and encourages him to do something which was against Ram? Now, it's not like that. The fact that he got the opportunity to be killed by the Supreme Lord itself is glorious, because the Lord's killing you, the Lord's saving you, the Lord's anything to do with you is for your own safety. So even killing by the Lord is glorious. So this is what happened with Marichi. So finally we know how Ravan convinced him to become a golden deer, and then he gets killed by Lord Ram. So Marichadini Pataka Rama. So he killed the Ghora Tataka and then he throwed Marichi far away. And then comes Kaushika Makha Samrakshaka Rama. Kaushika Makha. Kaushika means Vishwamitra and Makha means protection. So Samrakshaka means just to maintain the cosmic harmony. Lord has done this pastime of killing Tataka and throwing Marichi and Subahu and all the other demons away. Srimad Ahalya Uddharaka Rama. And then after killing and all, what does he do? He delivers Ahalya. In fact, whenever I read this Vishwamitra pastimes of the Lord, I'm reminded of that Suprabhatam verse. The very first verse of Suprabhatam, na? Kaushalya Supraja Rama Purva Sandhya Pravartate Uttishta Narasadula Kartavyam Daivamanikam. This verse is spoken by Vishwamitra. Because when the Lord is traveling with Vishwamitra, Lord Rama, to different places in the forest, saving the sages, protecting their sacrifice, it says that Vishwamitra was so, I mean, you can imagine if the Lord is staying with you, and then Lord, after in the evening, after massaging Vishwamitra's feet, legs for some time, then Lord goes and takes rest. And next day morning, he will wake up and come back. But Lord is so attractive that Vishwamitra cannot wait. When will the sun rise? And then I can see the beautiful lotus-like face of Lord Ram again. So early in the morning, before the sun rises, he goes and wakes up. Kaushalya, Supraja, Rama. Come on, get up, Lord Ram. He's saying, hey Ram, son of Kaushalya, get up, beta. See, just now the sun is going to rise in the eastern horizon, and you have to get up and do your regular duty. And that way, he's so eager to wake him up. And then Lord, go gets up. Yeah, yes, Guruji, I'm awake. And then Lord gets up, and then he does whatever his regular thing. So whenever the Vishwamitra passed him, I'm just reminded of this beautiful verse, which is so dear to actually mostly South Indians, because this is something they chant every day. So Srimad Ahalya Uddharaka Rama. This is very beautiful pastime of Ahalya. How this Ahalya was very beautiful, and she was the wife of this great saint called Gautam Rishi, and she was so attractive that even Indra, the king of heaven, gets attracted by her beauty, and just to enjoy her, he comes in the form of Gautam Muni. And Ahalya, being a great hermitess herself, she could understand, oh, this is not my husband, this is Indra. But that moment she gets carried away, and then finally they have a union. And after that, when Indra is leaving the place, Gautam Muni enters, and then he sees, oh, what is this? Somebody's dressed like me, and he understands this is Indra. So he immediately curses that, what is this? You don't have any moral values. And then he curses him, and then Indra gets a deformed body. And then he looks at his wife and says, how could you do this, after performing so many austerities? How could you, steep so low? So you're heartless, you're a stone, become a stone. And then she falls down on her husband's feet and says, please don't punish me so harsh, so hard way. It's my mistake. And he says, well, okay, Lord Ram will come and deliver you. So for many, many years now, this whole ashram, this hermitage is like abandoned. There's nobody there. And there's this big stone, Ahalya, who's, in the form of a stone. And then we know how Lord Ram, very innocently, when he touches, when his feet, lotus feet, touches this stone, Ahalya just comes back to her normal form, and she becomes very happy. And this is what it said in the last line: Srimad Ahalya Uddharaka Rama. Rama has delivered her. We'll go to the next verse. One thing what I liked from this verse was, I was just thinking that Ahalya became a stone. What delivered her was the dust of the lotus feet of Lord Ram. And our hearts are also like stone. We never have any emotions for the Lord. We never cry for the Lord. Maybe the only time tear comes out is when you watch a Bollywood movie and in the climax you see the hero is getting hurt by the villain. And then you may get all emotional. How come the hero is hurt like that? Or sometime watching B.R. Chopra's Ramayana or Mahabharata. But there is no actual emotion. The heart is very hard. So, but we understand the solution is that the stone can become a woman by dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. That means we have to search for the dust of the lotus feet. So how can we make our hearts soft and but here the dust we are getting in Kali Yuga is in the form of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That means if we regularly chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that is the dust of the feet of the Lord, and that will melt our stone-like hearts. And it's a continuous process. It's not one-time process. We need to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, and chanting and hearing and reading, chanting, hearing, reading. When you go to, of course, I don't know, in the USA you have big malls and air conditioned, but in India, if you go to Raitu Bazaar, the market where the vegetable vendors, they sell vegetables, you'll watch them, every 15 minutes they will take some water and they'll sprinkle it on the vegetables just to keep them fresh. They'll keep sprinkling water on it. And I was just thinking that this is what we need to do. Keep sprinkling chanting and keep sprinkling of hearing and reading. That will keep our hearts fresh. Otherwise, sometimes we just become so dry. And that sprinkling is required on a regular basis. Shravanam and Kirtanam and Smaranam and that Navavida Bhakti keeps our heart fresh and, for the Lord to stay. So this is what happens with Ahalya. We'll just go to the next verse. Gautama Muni Sampujita Rama Sura Muni Varagana Samstuta Rama Navika Dhavita Mrudapada Rama Mithila Purajana Mohaka Rama 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 Jaya Raja Ram Rama Rama Jaya Sita Ram Rama Rama Jaya Raja Ram Rama Rama Jaya Sita Ram. In this verse is Gautama Muni Sampujita Rama. This is so beautiful because there may be people criticizing Gautam Muni that how can he be so harsh to his wife? Okay, there was a mistake, but making her a stone. So here Lord is so kind. He undid the damage done. Whatever Gautam Muni had done, the damage, he just undoes it by delivering. So now people can't be critical of how harsh he was to his wife. Now people will say, oh, what a good thing he did. Because he punished his wife in such a way that she got the opportunity to be touched by the lotus feet of the Lord. And then now we'll glorify Gautam Muni that, oh, these rishis and munis, no matter what curse they give, they're always for our good and our benefit. So he just protected the honor of his devotee Gautam. And the other way to understand this line is that Ram we are talking about here is one who was even worshipped by great munis like Gautam Muni, who was considered very popular and very powerful Muni, who could curse his wife to become a stone. How detached and how principled he was, so much he gave importance to the right principle. So Gautama Muni Sampujita Rama, he's been worshipped by Muni like Gautama. Sura Muni Varagana Samsuta Rama, not only Gautama Muni has been worshipped by Sura and Muni. Sura means Devatas and Muni means Munis, Rishis. So why Sura Muni is very important is because two limbs of this society, that is the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas, they're very important. So Sura means demigods who are the best of the Kshatriyas, and Munis means Brahmanas, the best of the Brahmanas. So the best of the Brahmanas and the best of the Kshatriyas are also worshipping Lord Ram. Oh, that glorious is Lord Sri Ram. So Sura Muni Varagana Samsuta Rama, Navika Dhavita Mrudapada Rama. Oh, not only Kshatriyas and not only Brahmanas and Shudras, even the Kevata. Navika is a boatman. They all worship Lord Ram, and Lord Ram responded to everybody in such a beautiful way. He was responding to everybody in such a beautiful, like we know this very beautiful pastime of Kevat, how after this Ahalya pastime, now Lord is famous everywhere. What he has delivered, a lady who was in the form of a stone. So now when finally Dashrath wanted to crown him as a prince. He's going to become king in the future, but we know how Kaikeyi twists the whole plan of Dasharatha, and now Lord Ram has to go on exile for 14 years, and now when he's on his way, he has to cross the river, Sarayu Nadi, and then he needs a boatman, and then here is a boatman who's not ready to take the Lord because he says that you're very famous, and we've heard about you, the glories of your feet and how a stone become a lady, and today you put that feet in my boat and my boat becomes a lady, then I'll be in big trouble because I already have a wife and I already have children. I don't want to have another burden. And so then Lord Ram says, but then what's the solution? Because I really need to get across the river. And he says, okay, I have a solution. I'll just clean your feet with little water from the Ganges and let me drink it and let me check for myself. If I don't get converted into lady, and let my family members check it. And if we are convinced, then we can take you across. And the Devtas all above us are just thinking, wow, smart guy. We couldn't get the dust of the Lord's lotus feet and he just managed it. So he just very slowly and nicely, he just washes the feet of the Lord and he drinks and drinks to his heart's content, and his wife drinks and his family drinks. And then Lord is just observing, how long this drama is going to go on. And after he's satisfied, he says, yeah, looks like we are okay. We didn't change into women, so now we'll take you across. And then they take Lord across the river. And finally, Sita, Mother Sita, who is very kind, she just thinks, I must give something. And she just takes out her ring from her fingers and says, please give it to the Navika, the Kevat. And then the Kevat says, I don't need it, because we are in the same business, and people who are in the same business, they don't take money from each other. But that's a tradition. You see, somebody is in a barber business, the two barbers, they don't take money from each other. Or somebody is doing a books business, some stock is over, they'll just call another bookstore, oh, you have it, can you send it to me? So people in the same business, we don't exchange in money. When you get stock, you just give it back to him. This is how we deal. So Lakshman is wondering, my brother is a prince and he's a boatman. How can they both be in the same business? So then Kevat, he clarifies. He says, well, I take people across this river, small river in the material world, and you take people across the ocean of material world. So we both are in the same business. You're also a boatman, and so am I. So today you came to my, you came to my bank, and I, allowed you to, or I took you across. And when I come after leaving this body, you also take me across this material ocean, this material world, and that way we can settle our accounts. So then Lakshman thinks, oh, he's smart. So Lord becomes very happy by Kevat's request. Actually, I was reading somewhere, but I'm just not able to recollect what book that was. That this Kevat in the Sweta Dvipa, he was a crab or something. And one day Lakshmi Devi was massaging the feet of Lord Vishnu, and she sees on the top of Ananta says, from the ocean comes a crab and was trying to touch the lotus feet of the Lord. And she, who is massaging the feet, she just pushes the crab away, and the crab is again climbing up and trying to touch the feet of the Lord. So Lakshmi Devi, she's a mother, she's kind. At the same time, she can't allow crab to be touching the Lord's body. So she promises it, I'll give you that opportunity. You not only touching, you can drink the water coming from his feet, but not now. Have patience. And she just pushes the crab away. Now he takes birth as Kevat, the boatman, and here Lakshmi Devi's Sita Devi is simply smiling and watching. Okay, so that time whatever promise I made, you're taking extra advantage of it. Now I think you can stop it. You've been drinking and stop, enough, you're taking too much advantage of my. So she's just smiling to herself. So this is what happens, and then finally Lord goes across. So Mrudapada Rama, the soft feet were worshipped by Kevat. Mithila Purajana Mohaka Rama. This is very beautiful line. It says, Mithila Purajana Mohaka Rama. Oh, when Lord Ram, now all this is over, the Ahalya pastime is over, and now it's time to go back home. But Vishwamitra wants to give a little more exposure to Lord Ram, and he says, okay, I'll take you to Mithila Puri, I'll take you to Janakpur, And Lord Ram is fine, children what they want, some adventures, and he's a teenage boy, so wonderful. So they were very happy to accompany their guru and go to some other distant places. So now when they enter Mithila Puri, they enter Janakpur, everybody is mesmerized by their beauty, and many of them were actually longing for Lord in Madhurya Bhava. They wanted to get married to the Lord. They wanted to have conjugal relationship with the Lord. So, in the Garga Samhita, there is this Madhurya Khanda, wherein all those people who craved for Lord in the Madhurya Bhava, how in Krishna Leela, Lord gave opportunity to each and every person. So in that Madhurya Khanda, there is completely details. The ladies in Mithila Puri, all those who were craving for the Lord, what happened to them? The ladies in Ayodhya, there were many people in Ayodhya itself who were not looking at the Lord in Vatsalya Bhava, they were looking at the Lord in Madhurya Bhava. So what happened to them? And the Vedas personified, even they wanted to have a conjugal relation with the Lord, so they also became gopis. So the ladies in Ayodhya many of them became gopis, and in Mithila Puri they became gopis, and the Vedas personified, they became gopis. And the rishis in the Dandakaranya forest, when the Lord entered Dandakaranya forest during his exile, they are all men, but they want to have conjugal relation with the Lord, so they also became gopis. And then the ladies in Kaushal Raj, or in fact even in the place where Kaushalya comes from, whenever Lord used to go and meet his grandfather or go to, just like the ladies, they go to mother's house. So whenever he used to go there, they also got attracted to Lord. So they also became gopis in Krishna Leela. And then the ladies from the Rama Vaikuntha, and the ladies from the Urdhva Vaikuntha, and the ladies from Sweta Dvipa, and the ladies from Ajita Pada, and the ladies from Lokachal Loka, and the Apsaras, and the other demigoddess, and the list goes on, the whole Garga Samhita, how everybody got an opportunity to become a gopi. So, people criticize Krishna, why so many gopis, but what can he do? So many people were craving to have him as their beloved, and so he just fulfills everybody's desire. So some are born as the daughters of King Vimala, like the Vimala Kunda we see in Kamyavan, and then some are born as the daughters of Mangala Gopa, and some are born as the daughters of the 9 Nandas, and some are born as the daughters of the 9 Upanandas, and like that everybody. And then we know about the Katyayani Vrata, and then we know about the marriage of the King Vimala's daughters to Krishna, and like that Krishna satisfies everybody in the Madhurya Bhava. So this is what happens. Mithila Purajana Mohaka Rama. These all of Mithila ladies, they became the daughters of the 9 Nandas in Krishna Leela. So everybody who was looking at Krishna was looking at Lord Rama, was just getting mesmerized. They just didn't know what to do. They just wanted to keep looking at him and keep looking at him. So Mithila Purajana Mohaka Rama. They got completely mesmerized by him. So I was just thinking, one important lesson that we can take from this verse is, they were attracted to the Lord and they had some desire in their heart, and Lord fulfilled it. Lord fulfills every desire. That's why one has to be so careful what kind of desire one makes. I'm just reminded of that pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. In his previous life, he was a good orator, or rather I say speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, and he used to give such amazing and such nectarian classes that people used to come from far off just to hear him speak. And he was very detached and completely focused on Bhagavatam. But once it so happened that there was this one king who came in his chariot looking very affluent and all these ornaments and looking very beautiful, and for one fraction of a second Dhruva Maharaj had this not exactly desire, but kind of an appreciation. Wow, he's looking good, great, so much jewelry and what an opulence. And that's it. And Lord fulfilled his desire. And in next life, he became Dhruva, the son of Uttanapada. Just a very small desire somewhere in the heart, even if it's unconsciously made, the Lord is conscious about it because he's there in our heart. So every desire that we make, he's noting down and noting down and noting down. So one has to be so careful what desire. The Mithila Purajana, they just made that moment desire came when they saw, wow, how I wish I could have him as my husband. That's about it. And maybe they're done after that. But that's it. Lord immediately notes down, and he notes down. So one has to be so careful what desire that we are making. We should be so careful in whatever desire coming in our hearts. The Lord is taking a note of them. So even if we actually manage to get into the Vaikuntha plane, and imagine because I was just hearing some explanation somewhere that when a devotee actually gets into the plane of Vaikuntha, and then he's actually traveling from this planet to Vaikuntha, on his way there are beautiful gardens, and there are beautiful palaces made up of golds and diamond and precious stones, and there's so much beautiful lokas that he passes. And I was just thinking that every chance somebody may say, oh, stop, I think I want to get down here. This looks so beautiful, or this looks so beautiful, or that is so nice. And there are every chance that it may just happen, because so one has to be so focused, because even if you're doing your best, every time there are chances that we may just crave for something unconsciously also. We are not sure. So one has to be so conscious so that we unconsciously also don't ask or desire for something. So anyway, so we'll go to the next. I think we're already running out of time. Okay, so Videha Manasa Ranjaka Rama Trayambakara Mukha Bhanjaka Rama Sitarpitavara Mallika Rama Kritavaivahika Ka Kautuka Rama 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 Jaya Raja Ram Rama Rama Jaya Sita Ram Rama Rama Jaya Raja Ram Rama Rama Jaya Sita Ram. So Videha Manasa Ranjaka Rama. This is very beautiful. Videha means Lord King Janaka, because he's Videha Raja, so they call him Videha, and Videha Manasa Ranjaka Rama. So when Janak Maharaj sees Lord Ram for the very first time, he's completely like, wow, so beautiful. How can somebody be so sweet, so good looking? Because Vishwamitra comes with these two princes. So initially nobody's taking notice, because they're in awe of Vishwamitra. So they're just doing whatever they're supposed to do, because Brahmana has come, and then they take notice of when they're introduced. Here there are two little boys, and for a father of a girl, every boy becomes a prospective groom. He'll start calculating that this boy is very good and is looking good, and what is his family, and maybe he can be good match for my daughter, and how can I take this further? And especially because there was a Swayamvar upcoming, so he had all these thoughts, and he started thinking, this boy looks good, but he looks a little weak. I mean, no, his soft body, I don't know if he can manage to break the Shivadhanu. So many things are going on in his mind, but in the heart of the heart, he's thinking, but I wish he can break it, because it's really good. I mean, if he could be my son-in-law, this is what is happening. So Trayambaka Karmukha Bhanjaka Rama. Trayambaka is Lord Shiva. So finally what Rama does is, he fulfills the desire of Dashrath and Sita and everybody there, because they were all so attached to Sita Devi that it was not only Dashrath, every citizen of Janakpur, for them Sita was their daughter. Everybody used to think for Sita Devi that she should always be happy, and she should get the right husband, and she should always be blessed. So they all, when they saw Lord Ram, they were thinking, he will be the right match for our daughter Sita. So finally, the Trayamba Karmukha Bhanjakarama. Lord has broken the Shiva Dhanush. Shiva Dhanush was very powerful, and they need, every time they had to clean that area where the Shiva Dhanush was kept, they had to get elephants to move it. But once it so happens that Sita Mata playfully lifts it up with her left hand, and when Dashrath sees this, he's amazed that, oh, my daughter has so much strength. So on that day only he decides that anybody who wants to get married to her has to have the strength to break this Dhanush. Otherwise, imagine, the wife is so powerful, she gives one embrace to the husband may die in the first day itself. So somebody has to have that much power like, or strength like her. So that was what was decided. So finally the Swayamvar happens, and then it's very funny how all the kings, they tried their best, and nobody succeeds. And finally Dashrath makes all emotional statement that is the earth bereft of all the Kshatriyas, or nobody is able to do this, or what will happen to my daughter? And then finally Vishwamitra asks Ram to go and lift it. And Lord Ram, and everybody is laughing when they look at Lord Ram coming, such a sweet little boy with soft hands and arms, and looks so delicate, and how will he do it? And finally Lord Ram lifts it up and breaks the Dhanush. But of course, I was reading that before this thing happens, Sita and Mother Sita and Lord Ram, they meet in a garden when Mother Sita had gone to do some puja to Durga Devi, to pluck flowers, and that's where she sees Lord Ram from far off, and Lord Ram sees also Mother Sita, and Sita in her heart of heart thinks that I wish he could be my husband. And finally when she actually sees him in the Swayamvar, she becomes very happy, and it says that she was praying to Durga Devi. It's all Leela, all are coming out from Mother Sita, but she's praying to Durga Devi, I wish, give him all the strength so that he can lift it up. And finally Lord lifts it up, and the Shiva Dhanush is broken. So now that Shiva Dhanush is broken, so Sita Mata is supposed to go, and here is the verse. It says, Sita Pitavara Mallika Rama. Now she has to go and put the garland on Lord Ram's neck. And that again is a very big pastime of how Sita Mata is a little short and Lord Rama is tall, and Mother Sita is trying to put the garland, but Lord Ram is so, Kshatriyas those days, they don't bend, they can't bend their heads, they're always upright, and she doesn't know what to do, but she's very happy because the ladies, they wear lots of bangles on both the sides, and she was wearing bangles which are having small mirrors, very beautiful bangles. So she has her hands stretched, and she has this beautiful garland of flowers to put it on Lord Ram. So because her hands are stretched, and there are lots of bangles here, in every bangle there are these small mirrors, and she can see Lord Ram's face in those mirrors. So she's okay, even if it takes 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 1 hour. She says, what's my problem? She just stands like this, and she's just bowing down her head and keeps looking at Lord Ram's face in her bangles. But everybody else is waiting. So what's going on? This boy is not bending, this girl is short and she's not able to put the garland, and everybody is just waiting for the thing to happen. And Dashrath is waiting, and the other people are waiting, and Lakshman is waiting, and Vishwamitra is waiting, and they don't know what to do. And then meanwhile, Mother Sita and Lord Ram, they're having mental conversations. Lord Ram is telling Sita Mata that, okay, now can you just stop this? I know you're looking at me. Can you just put the garland on me? And Sita says, I'll take some more time. And Lord Ram is like, why are you doing this to me? And Sita says, but you did this to me. You took so much time to break the Shiva Dhanush. I have been praying, and I was in anxiety, and you were doing all that thing, doing parikrama for Shiva Dhanush, and then, joining your hands, doing so many prayers. And every time I was in anxiety whether he can do it or not. You put me in so much anxiety, and now you wait for me. I'll put it in my own time. I'll put the garland. So these conversations are going on, and Lakshman is wondering, what is supposed to do now? So Lakshman is very smart, he's Anantashesh, Balaram. So he just, suddenly gets up from his seat, and he just falls on the feet of Lord Ram. And Lord Ram is wondering, what happened? He was just fine a couple of minutes ago. And Lord Ram immediately turns, he just bends and lifts up Lakshman. Hey Lakshman, what happened to you? And the moment he bends his head to, embrace Lakshman and hold him, Sita Mata gets the opportunity, and she immediately puts the garland. She's done for it because Ram, he bends. And then Ram is not even conscious of that. He's just thinking, what happened to Lakshman? And he said, yes, Lakshman, what happened to you? And Lakshman is like, Oh, well, nothing. I think it just ate a little more. Maybe acidity problem. Looks like gas. I'm fine, brother. That's it. And he just walks out. And Lord Ram is still wondering what's happening. He just came to me, fall down on my leg. I thought he's having an issue. And then he realizes everybody's just putting petals on them and they're done with the ceremony. The garland is on his neck and they're done with it. So then everybody's clapping and, Mangala, Vaidyas, they're all Shehnais and all different musical instruments are being played. And everybody's so happy and joyous and singing and dancing and everything is so, in joyous mood. So this is what happens. Sita Arpitavara Mallika Rama Krita Vaivahika Kautuka Rama. So of course we all know then how it's not only Sita and Ram getting married, but the elders of the family decide that why not all the four princes get married to all the four princes, all the daughters of Dashrath Maharaj and his brother Janak Maharaj and his brothers. This is what is decided, and finally all the four brothers get married at a time. And in fact, I've been to this place in Nepal, this place called Janakpur. And it's very beautiful. You still have those, they call it as Janak's palace, and a huge one. And then there is this Vivaha Mandapa, and there are these four asanas, because all the four brothers got married at the same time. So there is this Vivaha Mandapa, and this whole place is so spiritually surcharged. Mother Sita's birthplace, that place, Janakpur. And lots of sadhus and devotees are moving around. It's like Ayodhya only, just like any other dham. Everybody's just chanting Mother Sita's names, and many of them are maybe there for many years now performing austerities. They just want that mercy of Mother Sita. Very nice place, Janakpur in Nepal. So okay, we just do 2 more lines, then we are done with the Balakanda. भार्गव दर्प विनाशक रामा श्रीमदयोध्या पालक रामा राम राम जय राजा राम 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 जय सीता राम. So Bhargava Darpa Vinashaka Rama. This is a very important verse. It says Bhargava Darpa Vinashaka Rama. Bhargava means Parshuram. Darpa means ego. Vinashaka Rama means kills. So Lord Ram, see, another name of Lord is Darpahari. This is one of the qualities of the Lord. The Lord does not like if a devotee becomes egoistic. Darpahari, he'll take away the darpa, he'll take away the ego of the devotee. So here Parshuram, he's an incarnation of the Lord, but he's showing a lot of pride because he's killed so many Kshatriyas and he's showing his power, and he thinks nobody can. He's the most powerful or the greatest. So Bhargava Darpa Vinashaka Rama, Lord kills his ego by breaking the Shiv Dhanush as if it's a small toy or something like that. Srimad Ayodhya Palaka Rama. I'll tell you one last story and then I'll end it here. Shankaracharya, he had one disciple called Padmapad, and Padmapad was a worshipper of Lord Narsimha. So once he is inside the forest and he's in deep meditation, because he wants to see the beautiful form of Lord Narsimhadev, is very attached to him. So he's been praying, and then there was this one hunter who comes to that place, and he just asked, I never seen you here before, so where did you come from, what are you doing? And Padmapad was full of ego, and he's like, don't disturb me, I'm just doing something very important. So this hunter is a uneducated simpleton, what do you know, a simple guy. He says, really? You said you are busy? I don't see you're busy, you're free. He's just sitting there doing nothing actually. In fact, I'm busy, I'm a hunter and I have to do, what are you doing? He said, don't disturb me, I've come here and search for somebody. Then this hunter says, oh really? Can I help you? Whom are you searching? If you give me description, because you see, not only me, my father, my grandfather, we all been in this forest and we've been, doing hunting. We just know every nook and corner of this forest. You tell me and I'll get you. Whom are you searching for? Now this Padmapad gets all vexed up and he says, I'm searching for, how do I explain you? Animal, one kind of an animal. Okay, tell me what kind of animal. Well, he has a face of a lion and half of the body as a man, Nara and, Simha is a combination. I'm just searching for him. So he says, the hunter, well, I've been hunting here for many years and I never came across such an animal. Then Padmapad is like, no, but he does exist, and he's here and I'm searching for him. So now this hunter thinks, okay, don't worry, sir, I'll get him. And I promise you, if I don't get him, by evening, I'll give up my body. And this Padmapad is like, good riddance, get lost, go and search whatever you want to. And now this man, this hunter, he keeps, where is this Narasimha? I never heard about it. Narasimha. He's going on searching. Now whole day he's been, reciting the names of the Lord and one pointed focus searching for the Lord. Finally, the Lord appears because he's so desperate. He's like, since I'm unable to get the Lord, let me cut my neck. And as he's about to do it, the Lord appears and says, okay, don't worry, I'm here. The hunter becomes very happy and he just takes the Lord by his hand and takes him to Padmapad and says, hey, hello, sir, wake up from your meditation. Here, I got this animal you wanted. Now, here it is. So he says, where? He can't see. Then Nrsingadev speaks up. He says, Padmapad, you can't see me because you have lots of ego in you, but this hunter is a simple guy. So just to save his life, I have appeared. You need a lot of purification. The Lord says that and disappears. And then Padmapad thinks, oh my God, I read so much scripture and I have a guru and I'm following everything and I couldn't see the Lord. And this simple hunter, he could get the Lord. So immediately, he becomes purified, So Darpahari, that's Lord's quality, just takes away makes the devotee humble. He makes such an arrangement that devotee becomes humble. So like that, Bhargava Darpa Vinashakarama. Now, as it is always the problem with me, we were supposed to complete 2 khandas today, Balakand and Ayodhya Kand, but we never went to Ayodhya Kand, we only did Balakand. So that's how it is. So next Saturday, we will run a little faster and we'll try to complete 3 khandas the coming Saturday. In fact, actually, there are more interesting stories in the upcoming kandas. So let's see how we can go about it. We'll see. So with this, we will end it here. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Shri Ramachandra Bhagavan ki jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Krishna 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 lage, sab Krishna 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 lage, sab Krishna 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 lage, sab Krishna